Good morning, everybody. Keith Engel, TGI Sports Talk. Just wanted to say good morning. Happy November. A little breezy, a little chilly here in East Greenbush, New York. We're still the only live webcast, streaming live here to Facebook, YouTube, soon to be, maybe some other spots. We'll talk about that in the future. Again, a little breezy and chilly here as we start November. Hopefully everybody's got their time right. With the time change, I was up about 4 a.m. today. My body will take weeks, if not months, to adjust to the time change. Lots to chat about. First things, some housekeeping. Friday show, we were supposed to have Billy Martin Jr. on, talk about his dad and his legacy, and Billy, unfortunately, couldn't make it. He apologizes profusely. We're going to reschedule that hopefully soon. So those of you who had to watch and listen to me talk about Billy's career, myself, I apologize. I hope I did okay. I'm well versed in the origin or the legacy of Billy Martin. So hopefully it was not a totally unenjoyable hour. So we'll welcome Billy when he can come on. My guest next week, next Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern time will be Fred Mitchell. You'll see a promo coming for that. We're going to talk about Fred's a longtime sports writer for the Chicago Tribune. He's retired now, but he's written 11 books. He's won the Jim Murray Sports Writer Award. He's very knowledgeable in the NFL and everything with Chicago. But, we're going to talk about the late, great Gil Sayers probably a lot Friday, as well as, today's NFL a little bit, and the surprising Bears probably. Let's let you guys know that I've gotten some of my podcasts. So we do this live, as you know, on Facebook and YouTube and video wise. But I also share the content to a podcast site called Podbean. But we're now all of the catalog of shows is on Spotify. So if you know people that don't have time to watch videos on Facebook, but they're out and about and they've got Spotify, or I've got a few others. I'll share some more information. I'm trying to get on iTunes, but we're having a little technical difficulty there. But if you know people that don't have time to sit and watch this on their phone or wherever you guys do watch it from, they'll be able to listen to it mowing their lawn. Won't be mowing their lawn much here in the Northeast, but whatever they do, and a lot of people are listening to podcasts today. Obviously, in the world we live in, so there's an opportunity to listen as well. And the show is not terribly visual. It's always, I find it better. I'm a visual person. Even radio shows, I used to watch the simulcast if I could, Mike and the Mad Dog days and such, when I had time. So that's some good news. Spotify, all the episodes are there, all going back to the very first one with Kevin Kernan. So anyway, happy November. Hope you're staying warm. It's very windy here, by the way. As Joe the Pro would say. I know Joe won't see this, but when my buddy Mark sees it, he'll understand. The wind here in the East Greenbush, at least, is very windy. We're going to talk about a few things today. We're going to start with the World Series recap and some stories from there, good and bad. We'll do a college football recap. I've even got a couple of highlights I'm going to try to show you guys today. Well, not highlights, but some quick takes and see how that goes technically wise. And then, of course, we're going to recap the NCAA, as I said yesterday. And we'll get into the football stories, where we're at, teams buying, teams selling, and our picks. So anybody who gets on here and wants to do some picks in a little bit, feel free to point it out. If my boy Bill Pulver gets on, he can continue to try to pulverize me. No pun intended, Bill. Rick Sherlock participated last week. We had a 3-way tie. So any of you guys that want to get on, if you guys want to participate again later, just send me a note in the comments here. And good morning to David Guyette. Sorry, Dave. My most reliable viewer, David Guyette. First one here, always here. Thanks, Dave, for watching. Hope you're sharing this with your friends. So let's dive in quick. Major League Baseball, the World Series comes to an end. This truncated season comes to an end. Should he get an asterisk? I don't know. They played the season that they could. They changed the playoff format. They changed some rules, but I don't. You still got a World Series winner. The Dodgers get their first World Series victory since 1988. Good for them. Good for the Dodgers fans out there. Good for the guys that I know that are Dodger fans, Jim McMartin and Ronnie Bear, and my good friend Bob Sitchie, who's no longer with us, but I'm sure he was popping a Jenny yesterday, not yesterday, but this week for the Dodgers. Maybe more than one, if I know Sitch. So congratulations to the Dodgers fans. I'll stick with the good stuff for the moment, right? There's some great stories. Again, Dodgers winning for the first time in 30 years. Again, the sport's better. There's all sports are better with certain teams being good, right? The baseball's better when the Dodgers are good and the Yankees are good and the Red Sox are good. And the Dodgers, they've been really good the last several years. They've been good quite a few years in the last 32 years since they won a World Series, just not good enough to win. And well, I'm not a Dodger fan, and I was rooting for the A's. Actually put a couple dollars on the Rays. Sorry, not the A's, the Rays. Actually put a few shillings on the series. Not one money well spent, but that's okay. It was a great series. It was fun. To a certain extent, I've got some negative stuff I will bring up in a little bit, and I'll play a little clip from Tim Kirchin from ESPN that kind of backs up my my thoughts. There were some standout performers. Cody Bellinger played great, the great center fielder for the Dodgers. He becomes, I think, the 8th father and son duo to win World Series. His father, Clay Bellinger, played with the Yankees on a couple of series teams. I think he only appeared in maybe the 2000 series, and he was not a huge contributor. But he was on the roster, won a World Series. So they become the 8th duo to win a World Series. Corey Seager, and MVP of the World Series. Great player, gets to showcase himself to the nation. Tremendous player. I think the guy who really stands out in my mind. Sorry, guys, I got an awful itch on my lip this morning. Sorry about that. Mookie Betts. Throughout these playoffs, his World Series wasn't as good, but he had some big hits, big plays. His numbers weren't as good as Seager's, but I think throughout the playoffs, Mookie Betts established himself as the best player in baseball. I think he's better than Mike Trout right now. He's winning. It's the second World Series victory in 3 years. So now he's got an MVP award in the American League. He's probably going to win the MVP award maybe in the National League this year. Money well spent by the Dodgers, and the Red Sox probably are not happy that he's gone. But again, Mookie's a great player, and I think he's become the best player in baseball. That's just my opinion, of course, but that's where we're at. Clayton Kershaw pitched much better. Not through the entire postseason. He still had a couple struggles. His struggles in the postseason are well documented, but it was nice to see Clayton get a win. Also pitched very well in the World Series against the Rays. So again, one of the great lefties in history. Finally gets a title and maybe gets a monkey off his back a little bit too, which I think is good. On the Rays side, you got an emerging star in Randy. Can never say his name. God, you guys, I appreciate your leniency with me and names. So, Randy Arozarena. I got it. Arozarena. what a breakout performance for him through these playoffs. Tremendous player. The question is going to be, as he gets better. I mean, the Rays are going to have control over him for a while. But as his service time increases, will the Rays be able to keep him? Always the question with the Rays and good players. So that's the good news. The bad news, the continued state of baseball. It's just the game's played so differently today, and we're getting away from. There's too much analytics. There's too much computer and relying on computer printouts. I watched the fielders, which I never really noticed before. I'm sure it's gone on for a little while, but I really noticed it in the playoffs. Every fielder's got an index card in their back pocket where to play this player, which, is fine. That stuff's fine. But what's really lost, and I talked about this with Kevin Kernan 3 months ago at length, the lack of feel for the game amongst the players is what we concentrated on. Instincts get lost in all this analysis and analytics of every situation. And the feel for the game is gone. You watch guys, they're like robots. And, it's the strikeouts, the home runs. We talk about that and the lack of baseball, good baseball plays, moving runners, moving a guy from second to third with nobody out, doing things like that. We don't do that. We don't have productive outs today. The strikeouts are home runs. Very few productive outs. And teams like the Rays live and die by analytics, and they died by it, by pulling Blake Snell in that 6th game when he was mowing down the Dodgers, mowing them down. No reason other than the analytics said it was time to get him out. Can't remember what he'd thrown. I feel like he'd only thrown like 77 pitches. It struck out 9, walked nobody. Dodgers had no clue. They bring in a relief pitcher who'd been effective during the regular season, but was not effective during the playoffs at all. And just, again, there's a lack of feel for the game. And Tim Kirchner, I'm going to play a little clip for you in a second. I felt exactly this way, and I came across this clip from Tim Kirchner, which really backs it up. Tim Kirchner's been around, seen a lot of baseball. And where we're heading is not a good place, guys. Let me play this clip. Let's hope I can do it well. Bear with me a second. So let's just see. Crap, my clip is gone. All right, well, I'll try to find that clip here in a little bit. Let me try right now, real quick. We got time. I got to use the right keypad. I got 2 computers going here. Tim Kirchner. Let's see what I can find here. Maybe we can pull this up quick, and we'll find the one that I wanted. Bear with me, guys. It's a great snapshot. I really hope I can find this because I think it's just a very important thing that we should watch. Hold on here. Scintillating webcast, Keith. Great job. Bear with me. I'm going to try this. I think I might be able to do this. It's giving me too many options here. Let me shut this one. Let's try this. And let's hope. I think we got it, boys and girls. Make sure we're playing it with sound. Hope you hear the sound.
Our game. We have lost a feel for the game. We have stopped watching the games. In this postseason, relief pitchers threw more innings than our starting pitchers threw. We have lost the value of our starting pitchers. There is no way that a guy who faced 18 batters tonight, struck out 9 of them, had 1 hard-hit ball, should be taken out. Nick Anderson is a great relief pitcher. He allowed 1 inherited run the whole season, but he allowed 3 in the postseason, and he set a major league record for most postseason appearances in a row, allowing a run. 7, he's not the same guy. We have stopped watching the game. And Kevin Cash is going to get killed for this, and rightfully so. But it's the front office of the Rays and the front office everywhere that has lost track of how the game should be played. I'm sorry. I give up. This is too much now.
But fantastic.
And how about
Guys,
show of respect?
Just a great take by Tim Kirchin. Hopefully that played well. If anybody's seen that, hopefully they can tell me if the audio came through and everything. Again, it's not the way I wanted to share it, but hopefully it came across okay. Again, Tim's right on track. We've lost a feel for the game. The front offices control what goes on. I guarantee you that there was a plan to pull Blake Snell, no matter what the situation was about that time of the game against that hitter. And, Kevin Cash, whatever. He's a manager. Got to be able to, the manager's got to be able to manage. He's got a feel for the game. He's got to be the guy to make the call. Too much. The front offices are too involved in the on-field strategy of baseball today. It's got to stop. We're gonna talk more about that as we go on. I'm gonna have a show. Don't know when. Totally about baseball. We'll spend 2 hours talking about the Yankees. We'll spend time talking about just the offseason in general. There's gonna be some challenges this offseason, right? Free agency. No fans in the stands, lots of revenue lost by owners. We got labor negotiations coming up next year. These free agents this year, well, I don't think it's a stellar class. It's certainly not a stellar class of starting pitchers. But these free agents who knows the situation they're going to run into, because these guys, the owners are not going to put out a lot of big contracts. I can't see. Not when they've lost $1 billion this year or whatever the number might be. Just not going to happen. So it's going to be an interesting offseason. And then we got the labor thing to deal with, and I don't have a good feeling. I've said for years, after 1995 or 94, when they shut the game down the last time and we didn't have a World Series, I said one more time. I'm done. They tested me a few years back. Oh, God. Might be 10 years ago now. It looked like we were on the brink of another shutdown, and I was serious. I would not come back. Maybe I wouldn't stick to my guns. Baseball's still my first love. Again, as much as I rail on the game today, still my first love. And I wish I could play it. My ball glove and a couple ball gloves are in my trunk every day of my life, and have been since I was a kid. I'm 60 years old. Never know when a game's going to break out, even if it's a game of catch. Got my ball and glove with me. But I don't like the way the game's going. The clip from Tim Kirchin I played, go back and watch it, guys, if you're coming in late. We got to fix this. Let's talk a little bit about a couple of, before I get away from the World Series, there's also the Justin Turner situation. Found to have test positive during the 7th inning of the Game 6. I'm not really sure about the whole logistics of how that's even possible, unless they're testing these guys, during the game, as they're tested daily. But then he isolates himself, and refuses security's efforts to keep him isolated. MLB had this plan in place, and he just blows it up. Dodgers wanted him out there. His teammates wanted him out there. Well, why do you have a COVID-19 protocol if you're just going to, at the biggest moment, just not follow it? I thought that, I know Justin Turner has been a big part of these Dodgers the last few years that have lost, and he wanted to celebrate with his teammates, but somewhere the protocol got broken. He got COVID-19. If they're in a bubble, which we'll talk about more of in a second, for the last 3-4 weeks, where did he get COVID-19? Is it MLB's fault? Is it Justin Turner's fault? Is it Dodgers' fault? Something broke down here. I don't know what it is. But again, not a good visual for MLB. On the same topic, Joe Kelly spoke up this week and said we weren't really in a bubble. So again, to my point about who's at fault here, we're not really in a bubble. How does Justin Turner get COVID-19? Joe Kelly says we're in a luxurious, beautiful hotel with their families, but he's in a villa on the 18th green of a golf course that's open to the public, and people are 20. I think he said 20 yards from the 18th green. And guys were just crossing the COVID-19 lines, the barriers, and, just abusing the guidelines. These are people don't know. They're just coming to play golf. But MLB has got him put 20 yards from where people could possibly be infecting him. Again, a bad visual. Bad by the MLB. Sorry. Let's move on to a couple other quick topics about baseball and we'll move on. Tony La Russa gets hired at 76 years old to manage the White Sox. I don't feel, Tony La Russa getting hired, I don't think is the real story here. Some people are reporting, he's too old, he's 76 years old, the game's passed him by. Well, a lot of the way the game is played today and some of the things I don't like, the specialization of pitchers and, pulling guys. And, Tony La Russa is a guy who invented that. The 1 inning close, only pitches in the 9th inning, the closer. Doesn't pitch in any other situations. And the shortening of the games, by having the starters go less innings and specialized jobs for people in the bullpen. Tony La Russa is a father of that. So I don't think the game has necessarily passed him by. He wasn't totally, he wasn't into the analytics like the guys are today. And whether he can coexist with his general manager, Kenny Williams, is another story. But there's some skepticism in the organization. Some players have spoken out about why some other candidates weren't considered. There were, including minority candidates, as they should. And then Jerry Reinsdorf, who's a good friend of Tony La Russa, and gave him his first job in baseball back in 1979 as the White Sox manager before he fired him in, 86, 85, 86. Decided he wanted Tony La Russa. That was the end of it. Basically, he negotiated with La Russa and nobody else. I think I don't know. I look at it. If the players buy in, if Tony La Russa is out of touch with anything, it's probably going to be today's players. He hasn't been in a dugout in 9 years. Today's players different than they were 9 years ago, even, guys. So we'll see. It remains to be seen. But Tony La Russa's credentials cannot be challenged. Great manager, Hall of Famer already. And that's a team ready, built to win. So let's see if the players buy in and there isn't some kind of player revolt. This could be a brilliant hire or it could be a disaster. God only knows. I think it's fine. I like Tony La Russa myself. Again, he's one of those guys who always thinks he's the smartest guy in the room, but he's a great manager. You can't take that away from him. The other hiring this week that stirred some controversy is A.J. Hinch signing with the Tigers, a team not ready to win yet. Maybe on a similar plane to where the Astros were when good God, guys, I swear to God, a hawk just flew into my side of my house. I'm not sure what that was. Maybe it was a pterodactyl. A.J. Hinch, again, taking over a team that was kind of where the Astros were before he got them over the top into the World Series and, in fact, winning a World Series. The problem here is A.J. Hinch and that team, A.J. Hinch, I shouldn't say was, but that team was now well documented to have been cheating, stealing signs, which is an age-old craft in baseball. I talked a lot about Billy Martin on Friday. Billy loved to steal signs, but not the way the Astros were with electronics and all this other other elaborate scheme they had put together. And AJ Hinch was the guy who was overseeing all that. So he's got to take ultimate responsibility. So I'm not surprised. He's a good manager, if not a great manager. By the way, guys, hope you'll call in today. Let me try and stream that. Let me try and roll this. Bear with me a second. Let me try and put the number up on the. Why don't you scroll? See if it doesn't screw up my video. It often does, though. Let's just give it a go. See what happens. Put this back up. Let's see what happens. If we get a little distortion, I'll stop it. The number you can call, by the way, guys, 518-308-8225. We can talk about any topics you want to talk about today. I'll go as long as we need to go today. Anyway, AJ Hinch was overseeing that whole thing. It isn't like he didn't know what was going on. And I don't think that that's not the number, Keith. What are you doing? Forget it. I'll give you a number again later. Let me turn this one off. All right. Anyway. You know, he's the guy who sees it. He's the guy. There's the number, guys. 518-308-8225. Please call in. AJ Hinch, I'm surprised he gets the job so fast. He's a great manager. Held responsible, suspended a year, right back in the saddle. He was actually in play for the White Sox job before Tony La Russa, or Jerry Reinsdorf swooped in and gave it to Tony La Russa. So, again, good manager, in demand. Good managers are going to get jobs, right? Alex Cora is going to get a job. He may get one this year. If not, he'll probably get one next year. And he was very much more involved in that whole scheme, much more so than AJ Hinch. AJ Hinch just knew and looked away. Cora was more involved, hands-on, just like Carlos Beltran. He'll probably never get another shot. He got the Mets job and he got fired before he ever managed a game because of this. Anyway, that's it for baseball right now, I think, guys. If somebody has some questions or any comments you want to chat about more about baseball and some of the things I've just brought up, feel free to call in, as I said, and we can take it from there. The number, again, 518-308-8225. Let's move on to the NCAA football situation yesterday. So, still having some COVID situations in the NCAA, and I don't know if they're going to make it through the season. I'm not sure what the answer is. Most of you know Trevor Lawrence, Heisman Trophy front runner being the number one pick in the draft next year, unless he doesn't want to be a Jet. Tested positive. He's out not just this past week, but from all reports I've seen, he's also out next week against Notre Dame, which is a big game now. And they struggled with BC yesterday, Clemson, without Lawrence. Their quarterback played well. See what he do. I will not even attempt to say his name. We'll call him DJ. DJU had a really good game. 342 yards and 2 touchdowns. But they only win by a touchdown. Less than a touchdown, 6 points. So, if Trevor Lawrence is out next week against Notre Dame, this is a game that's got playoff implications. Notre Dame beats Clemson, they're going to be jumping into that top 4 most likely. So, we'll see. Again, all reports are that he'll be out. But that wasn't the only place. We had Illinois had 20 plus cases that they had reported, including their quarterback. I think somehow they played their game yesterday. We'll see when we go through the scores. I didn't have it listed as the postponed games. I mean, the Big Ten is already in trouble. The Wisconsin-Nebraska game canceled. They don't have time because of starting so late. They don't have time to make up these games. So any games they get missed, they lose out. Nebraska in trouble with the Big Ten, trying to get another game. They wanted to add a game to their schedule. Big Ten says no. Nebraska and the Big Ten marriage is in big trouble, guys. Big trouble. And it would probably behoove Nebraska to get out of there because they have not been any good since they moved out of the Big 12. I don't know where they would go. So the COVID situation is still causing problems. We had postponements. That game was canceled. UTEP and North Texas and Marshall and Florida International were postponed. So still problems. They're working around them. But now you've got star players getting it. Clemson had a big outbreak before the season in spring practice, I think. Summer practice, whatever. Before the season. As a lot of South Carolina did. We'll see. On the field, some big upsets. Minnesota gets beat by Maryland, who got annihilated the week before. Michigan gets beat by Michigan State, who got beat by Rutgers by 10 or so the week before. Not a good loss for Michigan State. Now a horrible loss for Michigan against Michigan State. Jim Harbaugh could be in trouble there. They're not going to beat Ohio State. So they're not going to be in a playoff. Their playoff conversation's gone. So, and North Carolina gets beat by Virginia. We'll go through all the games, but there's another one that stands out to me, but that's another one. North Carolina's loaded with talent. Mac Brown had one of the best recruiting classes in the country this past year, but the team can't play on the road. They're killing everybody at home, and they're losing to some mediocre teams on the road. Virginia's not that good. Florida State's not that good. So, they got some issues that they got to straighten out. Auburn rolls over LSU, the defending champions, and LSU's problems continue. Auburn's had all kinds of problems of their own. Actually bet Auburn yesterday and Ohio State. So Ohio State had a pretty good effort against Penn State last night, by the way. But Auburn rolls 48-10 over LSU. You can't, Ed Orgeron, he won a national championship last year, but that's a very, very fickle fan base, and he'll be in trouble in a hurry if he doesn't get it back together. Les Miles was in trouble his last few years constantly, and he had really good teams, but he'd lose big games. So I think, maybe it's the whole COVID thing. They lost a lot of players to the draft, so there was some rebuilding and retooling to do. Then they had some big players opt out. Their best wide receiver opted out. And, they got to figure it out. Auburn needed that win badly. Gus Malzane's got to be in trouble as well. But those are kind of the stories of the week. One thing I will say, again, the lack of defense. Oh, my God. Oh, God, again. Let me just run some scores down before we go through all the scores. 45-44. That game was in overtime to give it some credence. 41-34. Game was in overtime, Texas, Oklahoma. There's a couple down here near the end. 44-41 in regulation. 52-22. 51-37 in regulation. Navy. In a game that scores 88 points? Can't believe it. 52-22. I'm just giving you a score. 62-28. We'll be touching that game in a second. 49-30. These games are in regulation, guys. Where's the defense? 44-21. I'm going to go through these games in a second. 48-11. 54-21. 53-19. Again, you're going to see some of these games, but these aren't all this isn't Oklahoma against Kansas from years ago I'm talking about. These are two good teams playing one another and giving up points right and left. And it points out, I had a conversation with a friend of mine, a Facebook friend of mine, a new friend that I met through Ron Bloomberg. And we had a conversation. He's a Miami Hurricane fan, as I am. I am through marriage, but I'm still a Hurricanes fan. And we had this conversation through Facebook about, he had posted something about some of the great players Miami's had through the years and who the greatest was and defense, offense, where to start. And you know what? He feels strongly, and I don't disagree. You need a great defense to win a championship. But my point was, and I don't disagree, my point is, though, it all starts with offense, because without a good offense today, your defense is nowhere. We're going to talk about that more with the NFL in a second. It's your offense dictates on a lot of cases how good your defense can be. Because if your offense is no good and your team's out there constantly, your defense is out there constantly, you can't win. You're going to give up tons of points the way the game is played today. The way the game is called, the way it's officiated, all the rules that get changed are to the benefit of the offense. Anyway, it's hard to watch some of these games, right? There were some good games, but, I don't mind a defensive struggle here and there, or 14-10, 21-14, whatever. Every game there, every other game's in the 50s. It's gotten a little better over the last few weeks. And I gave, some credence to the fact that maybe it would take teams time to adjust because they didn't have the preparation before the season because of COVID-19. But I can't excuse it all the way on that, guys. I just can't do it. Let's just go through the scoreboard, and we'll talk a little bit about the games. And well, actually, before we go through the scoreboard, I'll go through the scoreboard, and then we'll touch on some of the biggest winners and losers of the week. And we'll take it from there, right? So, oh gosh, where am I here? College football. Here we go. Games before yesterday, nothing really big stands out. Fresno State beats Colorado State. The big game, a big upset. Maryland beats Minnesota, who'd fallen out of the top 25 with their loss to Michigan, a bad loss to Michigan. Fleck is a great coach, but he's showing some chink in his armor. I hope I don't know if anybody's having any issues getting into the room today. My normal crew is not here. Dave Guyette, I wonder if you're still here. Give me a shout out if you are. Anyway, Minnesota's in trouble after a great season last year. They're going nowhere. Tulsa beats East Carolina. Wyoming beats Hawaii. As I mentioned before, on Friday, I think this game was supposed to be. Marshall and Florida International were postponed. Saturday, we got a postponement of one game, UTEP and North Texas, and a cancellation of Wisconsin and Nebraska, which is liable to have huge implications on the Big Ten championship game, and in turn, the playoff, the national playoff. So we'll see. We talked about Boston College kind of squeaking by Boston College. They actually were trailing in the fourth quarter in this game. Again, the quarterback and the kid I liked so much, who I cannot pronounce his name either, the running back for Clemson, Antonin, I'll say. He had 20 carries for 84 yards, 7 receptions for 140 yards. He may have propelled himself into the front spot, or one of the leaders for the Heisman. Josh Fields actually played very well too, which we'll touch on here in a second. But a great game from Antonin, and he's a great back, great player. Alabama plays Mississippi State, and boy, the shine is off Mississippi State, huh? 41-0. Mike Leach, who, I trumpeted here, and I got to eat my words. I trumpeted him after game one or week one. And they've been just getting whacked all over the place. They've scored about, I don't know, 3 points in 4 games or something. So again, the bloom is off the rose for Mike Leach. Alabama kills him. Mac Jones, another big game, 4 touchdown passes, 291 yards. Again, he's in the Heisman hunt. Ohio State beats Penn State 38-25. I don't know if the game was as close as that. Penn State played gamely. They had some injuries they had to deal with to their defense, to their quarterback. So they played gamely, but Ohio State looks very good. Justin Fields. I said Josh Fields before. 318 yards and 4 touchdowns. That doesn't even take into effect the running that he had. I think he had 2 rush. I don't know if he had 2 rushing touchdowns or not. But he ran the ball very effectively as well. Ohio State's really good. Defense might need to work a little bit. But again, the offense just controls the games. Again, their defense is better because their offense is better. Makes sense. We're going to talk about that more when we get into the NFL and talk about the Patriots. Notre Dame, number 4, beats Georgia Tech 31-13. Again, not quite as close. Georgia Tech with a late touchdown. Notre Dame with a big game against Clemson next week. Clemson maybe without Trevor Lawrence. Ian Book with a very serviceable job at quarterback. Nothing outstanding. Georgia and Kentucky. Defensive battle here. For change, 14-3. Georgia wins. Stetson Bennett only threw the ball 13 times, but he had 2 interceptions. He was a great story the first 3 games. I don't know if Rick Sherlock's here today. I know Rick's a Georgia fan and a Bennett fan, I think, based on some conversations we've had here during the show. But Bennett may be in trouble there if he doesn't start playing better. But Georgia at number 5, even with a loss, does beat Kentucky. Kentucky's very up and down. They're an enigma to me this year. They got a good team. They had a good year last year. Good coach. And they just don't. This year, they're not just putting it together for any length of time. They'll play a good game and then a couple bad ones. Big winner of the day yesterday, Texas. One of the big winners. Texas beats Oklahoma State, number 6 Oklahoma State. On the road, 41-34. Oklahoma State, we've been waiting for them to fall backwards. There's their quarterback who just came back a week ago, had a tremendous game. Spencer Sanders, 27 out of 39 for 4 touchdowns, 400 yards. But their defense, which has been winning games for them, falls apart. Ellinger is a great veteran quarterback for Texas. One of the reasons I'm surprised they're at 4 they're only 4-2. They lost games they should have won. Going to be hard for them to crawl back into any kind of contention. They fell out of the top 25. And now Oklahoma State's going to drop. The Big 12 is in trouble again when it comes to being in a consideration for the playoff. Oklahoma's been there the last few years, but I don't know where these teams are going to come from right now. Talk about it as we go forward. Obviously Clemson, Alabama, Notre Dame, big game. Notre Dame probably won't drop unless they get killed. They won't drop too far if they get beat next week against Clemson. Same with Clemson. They'll stay in contention with a victory. But some of these, nobody's coming out of the Big 10. I'm sorry, the Big 12. I don't see anybody coming out of the Pac-12. That's Dale Scott's Oregon Ducks. Former umpire Dale Scott had a great interview with him here a few weeks back, or probably a month back. And he's a big Oregon Duck fan. So if he sees this, go Ducks. Maybe they can do something. Who knows? Somebody's got to run the table out there, though. The big winner, another big winner yesterday is Cincinnati. They killed Memphis, a team they've had trouble with over the years and getting over the hump. And Cincinnati's got a good football team, and they're in the driver's seat of the, the group of 5 schools that that could be in position to maybe crash the playoff party from Power 5. They went 49-10. So the eye test is good for them. I talked before about that American Conference and how they beat each other up, and that was going to hurt them. But Cincinnati so far has beat SMU, has beat Memphis. So maybe they run the table. Georgia gets another loss. I mean, the SEC is probably going to get a couple of teams in there. If Georgia and Alabama, Georgia get in maybe with 2 losses. I don't know if they get to the championship game and lose to Alabama again. We'll see. Texas A&M wins big. They're moving up the rankings quickly. Got off to a horrible start. I bashed Jimbo Fisher here after their initial loss, and then they've been on a roll, won 4 in a row, moved up to 8 in the country. I don't know when we get our first playoff rankings here in a few weeks, maybe. That'll be interesting to see where they are. We'll talk about those as we go forward. Florida rolls over Missouri. They had a big fight at halftime of that game, and weirdly, Dan Mullen explained the fight and did his post-game conference in a Darth Vader costume. I know it's Halloween, but it's just kind of a weird visual. Anyway, they roll 41-17 over Missouri. Missouri seems better than that, but they got rolled pretty good. BYU still hanging around number 11, going to have trouble moving up farther unless these big teams really start losing games, because, again, the competition isn't very good. They played Western Kentucky yesterday. They win big, but so what? Big loser of the day yesterday, Michigan and Jim Harbaugh. They jumped up to 13th in the country with a big win over Minnesota in week 1, and yesterday they throw a stinker up against Michigan State, as I said, who got beat by Rutgers the week before. Rutgers is better with Greg Schiano back, but, again, it's a game they got to win. They're 21-point favorites. North Carolina throws a stinker up, as I said, on the road. Not much to talk about here. Sam Howell had a big game, 443 yards and 4 touchdowns, but defense nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. They lose again on the road to a mediocre football team at best. They're 2-4, Virginia. Kansas State, I was starting to believe in them. Watched College Game Day yesterday, and everybody was down in K-State. Everybody. And I couldn't understand it. They're going to West Virginia, unranked, but a good team, especially at home. And the line, they were talking about how the line kept going up, and somebody knew something. Well, somebody did know something. West Virginia rolls 37-10. Kansas State, Pac-12, or again, the Big 12, in big trouble. Big trouble. I don't know how they're going to get a team anywhere near the playoff consideration. And if they do, and they leave out an undefeated Cincinnati team because one of these Power 5 conferences with 2 losses or something gets in a playoff, then it's time to change the system again or expand the playoff. It will be a travesty. Indiana beats Rutgers, 37-21. Actually, again, another game that wasn't as close as it seemed. I'm going to try to show you. There was a crazy game here. Let's try to see if we can. Again, we'll try to share the screen. And I'm going to try to show you this play against, let's see how this goes. Hold on, guys. This is a play at the end of the game. I mean, this is one of the craziest plays you'll ever see. It reminds me of the Miami Miracle a little bit, except this game didn't win anything. And there it is. That's the big play right there. No flags. Doesn't really have an impact on a game. They still lost by 16, so that was with a minute left in the game. But still, it was an interesting play. I thought I'd share with you guys. I tried to do trying to improve my technical skills here so we can share more video and do more things. So anyway, Indiana 2-0 in the Big Ten. Who knows? They're playing well. They beat Penn State at Penn State 2 weeks ago or a week ago. Coastal Carolina 5-0 now, playing in the Sun Belt again. Not a huge football conference, not playing great foes, but they're winning big. 51-0 this time against Georgia State. On the pregame, again, the college game day yesterday, a lot of the procrastinators like Georgia State to beat Coastal Carolina here, but they continue to win. They're 20th in the country. I talked a little bit about Navy. SMU puts 51 up against Navy. And somehow SMU gives up 37 to Navy. But SMU's got a good offense. And, obviously Navy does not throw the ball. So shootouts are not something they're going to be doing very well in. Navy's 3-4 now, 3-2 in the American. But again, tough conference. A lot of teams beat each other up in that conference. SMU's really good, but they lost to Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati's got 2 really good wins with beating SMU and Memphis. Back-to-back weeks. Elsewhere, I think the Mad Hatter was back yesterday for Kansas. Les Miles didn't have any difference in the outcome. Iowa State rolls 52-22. Oklahoma 62 against Texas Tech. Spencer Rattler starting to play better. He's a redshirt freshman. He's going to play a lot, at least a couple more years before he can come to the NFL or take a shot. He's not a big guy. Again, I mentioned this before. Check out, if you haven't in the past, check out QB1 on Netflix. Great show. And Spencer Rattler was one of the highlighted players in the last season. Don't know that there'll be a season this year because of the COVID situation, but they played well. And Oklahoma getting it together probably too late. One of those teams that, they're at 24. They'd have to run the table, win the Big 12. Who knows? I mean, they might be in consideration with 2 losses at the end of the day, and they can't be. Not if Cincinnati's undefeated. Elsewhere, Boise State over Air Force, 49-30. Again, huge scores. Nothing else. What have we got big? Florida Atlantic wins. Tulane wins 38-3. Purdue wins over Illinois, an Illinois team I mentioned. I'm not sure how this game gets played when they got 20 cases. I don't understand the protocol. You see cases where you see instances where there's a couple of cases and they cancel games. Wisconsin, Nebraska, for instance. And maybe it's got to do with the fact that the contact tracing shows there can't be any other, proliferation of cases. But Illinois got 20 cases and they played a game. So I'm not really sure how that works. The other games of note, not really games of note. Syracuse continues a horrendous season, losing to Wake Forest by 28. I'm sorry. 24. Central Florida wins 44-21. Rice wins. Troy, UAB, any other big games here? TCU and Baylor, middle of the pack. The Auburn game we talked about. Auburn, Auburn's played badly, but they're 4-2 and 4-2 in the SEC. So they fell out of the top 25, but they may find their way back and move up quickly. Who knows? They got some big games that they got to navigate. But again, they get on a roll and they're talented enough to do it. We'll see. Iowa loses to Northwestern. Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin roll 54-21 over a bad Vanderbilt team. Virginia Tech beats Louisville. No surprise there. St. Jose State rolls over New Mexico. Duke, a little bit of surprise, rolling over Charlotte 53-19. And these other games are not really of interest. Again, Wisconsin, Nebraska postponed. Not a good situation. Let me check one thing here, guys. All right, so That's our college football wrap up. Big games yesterday. Some winners and losers from the day. Let's see. I had some games picked out here, and I seem to have lost my way. Let's see. Let me find the notes. There's my little notepad. Use a Word document these days, trying to keep myself abreast. Again, the winners yesterday, big winners yesterday, Ohio State, Cincinnati, as I said, even Coastal Carolina. They're going to be looking at not a major bowl, but a decent bowl. They're not going to make their way to the playoff by any means. Notre Dame, again, big winner and big news that they'll probably miss Trevor Lawrence next week. The end of the Big Ten upstarts, Indiana, Purdue, Illinois, they're 2-0. Texas with a season-saving victory. Again, they could maybe make a move here as the season moves on, but I don't see how the Big 12 can really get somebody in here. And the biggest loser of the week is Michigan by far. LSU, it's a big letdown, but LSU's just not that good. Kansas State, I think they might have been exposed. I think, they had some big wins. They went on a 4-game win streak. Big 12, as I mentioned, in big trouble. And then, again, some surprises. Georgia struggles with Kentucky. Bennett again playing some subpar ball. If Rick Sherlock's in, a win's a win. And as Bill Parcells, the fat bastard, said, you are what your record says you are. But, Bennett's struggling a little bit. North Carolina, again, can't win on the road. And then Mississippi State, good grief. I can't believe I was trumpeting Mike Leach taking the league by storm. So again, anybody just signed in, we've already recapped the World Series and some Major League Baseball hirings. We just finished our college football wrap up. If in fact you would like to call in, you can certainly call 518-308-8225, and we can discuss anything you'd like to chat about. Anybody wants to get involved with the picks today, I can do a couple things. You can do it through the chat like we've done it in the past weeks, and we'll do that in a little bit once we cover some other topics in the NFL. If you want to come on the show, shoot me a quick email or a text with your email, and I will invite you in, and you can be on the show and pick side by side with me. Just make sure you got some kind of clothing on. You don't want any accidents. My mug is back. All right, guys. Are you ready to move on? Probably the big stories, big places to be. I don't know. COVID, I guess, is quieted a bit here with the NFL. Only a few cases this week. No games are impacted at all. There are a few cases. The Giants, the Vikings, the Broncos, the Chargers all had one. I think all one case, maybe two, not affecting the games. There was some worry that the Giants were going to have a problem. Their whole offensive line, they were worried, was exposed. Not that I know if we'd noticed the difference if they were without their whole offensive line. Sorry to my Giant fan friends or viewers. So that's the big story right now, the fact that we have made it this far without this far in the week without any tests. Actually, Friday, there was 0 positive tests. All those cases that I mentioned a minute ago were from earlier in the week. So while those teams will be missing players, nobody tested positive since Thursday, I think. So that's good news for a change. Nothing affecting the schedule. The schedule's been bounced around enough. Hopefully they are not going to have a lot more of that. Bill Pulver, Michigan lost. Michigan got killed. Well, they didn't get killed, 27-24, but Again, when you take into consideration they're a 21-point favorite, they got killed. Welcome, Bill Pulver. By the way, you missed my pun. Well, go back and watch the beginning of the show when I recap. I'll use it again. I won't even tell you. During the picks portion, I will revisit my wonderful pun. I don't know why I make myself laugh. I'm not that funny. Anyway, let's get into it a little bit. Where we stand after 7 weeks, starting the AFC. In the East, Buffalo 5-2. You know, Buffalo's. Your nephew will be mad. There's a lot of Michigan fans mad. Jim Harbaugh might be in trouble. Billy's here, so I'm probably going to be back on a more stream of consciousness thing here with the delay. I sometimes get questions or comments that I might want to go back to, so I'm going to have to go backwards, which is fine, but please do it. See, Billy's just on my pun comment. I wonder if I'm big a delay I'm on. Jeez, 5 minutes? Anyway, back to the AFC East. The the Buffalo Bills. Look at the Bills played great early in the year, but the Bills have been outscored. They scored 100. They've scored 174 points. They've given up 178. Defense is supposed to be their forte. Again, defense is a little missing in the NFL. Not quite as badly as college, but we're not getting a lot of good. As I touch on the Patriots in a second, I'll be able to better illustrate my point, I think. The Dolphins, surprisingly, at 3-3. Also, we thought surprisingly, switching to Tua and benching Fitzpatrick today after the bye week to play against the Rams at home. Turns out, according to the organization, that was the plan all along. Apparently, the team is not divided. This is the type of thing that can hurt a team because you can divide a locker room. But at least the team now is claiming that was a plan all along, was to play Fitzpatrick, and then when the bye week hit, get Tua ready to play after that. So their 7th game will have Tua at quarterback. They'll be playing the Rams. We'll talk more about that. They actually have the best point differential in the division. They're 3-3. They're only a couple games behind, a game and a half behind the Bills, but they got a plus 47 differential. They got the best in the division. One of the best in the league. Where do we get the NFC East? Oh my gosh. Patriots I'll talk about in a second. I'll talk about them now. Let's talk about the Patriots. Again, 2-4, horrendous. I can't say horrendous enough. Effort last week. Cam, again, when he had COVID, apparently they said he was asymptomatic. They can't use the excuse of not having practice. They had a full week of practice. But Cam was terrible. The whole team was terrible. They were bad in every facet of the game. Offense, defense, which I'll give them a break and I'll talk about in a second, and coaching. Cam's arm strength looked terrible. I got better arm strength than that. I'm 60 years old and haven't thrown a football in about 10 years. I do throw a baseball now and again. Bad decision-making by Cam. Bad play calling. They're putting him in a position where he can flourish like they did in the first couple games of the year. And he holds on to the ball way too long. Way too long. Throw the ball away. Don't worry about your passer rating. Gosh. Now, a couple things on the Patriots. And these are not, I'm not going to make excuses. I'm just going to tell you what Bill Belichick said. Because to me, you don't make excuses. Again, you are what your record says you are. And we'll talk about what the Patriots may do here. So we're going to spend a few minutes on the Patriots. So excuse my indulgence in talking about my team. And again, if you want to call in, you see the number on the board. Belichick talked this week about how the salary cap has hurt them depth-wise. I've said in a lot of my shows, some of the shows that I've gone on, I go on with Mac and Jack on Max Sports every Friday morning to talk about the Patriots. I hope you'll watch that show. I do share it on my TGI Sports Talk page. the depth of the team is bad. It's been bad. It's not just salary cap issues, though. The drafting has been bad the last few years, especially in skill positions, offensive line. And Parcells talked a lot about how the salary cap this year. Now they're golden next year when it comes to the salary cap, and they may be even better. And we'll talk about in a second what they may be doing to free up more money. But there's other stuff too. And again, it's not excuses. It's just the Patriot way. They don't have depth. Number one, they don't have guys that they really can plug in and really key on their strengths because they didn't have the OTAs this year to be able to coach those guys up and find out who could flourish in certain situations. But everybody's been in the same boat, and you got to coach them up in whatever fashion you can. And the coaching staff has done a horrible job. Josh McDaniels done a horrible job with this offense since week 2. Well, week 3. They played pretty well against Seattle. But Josh McDaniel, who's been up for, again, he turned down the Colts after he said yes, and I thought he'd never get offered a job again. But then he gets offered jobs last year. He's probably not getting offered jobs this year. If I watch you on 4 screens, that does increase your ratings. Yeah, it would. Might slow down your internet speed, though, Bill. Views are good. Views are good. We like views. Thanks for that, by the way. Couple phones, couple computers. Love it. Back to the Patriots. Here's what I think. I think they're in trouble today. Big trouble. Everybody's hurt. We got no wide receivers. Edelman's out, had surgery on his knee, not season ending, but he'll be out a few weeks. Harry's out. Offensive line is banged up. Stephen Gilmore didn't even travel with the team. They're in trouble. If they beat the Bills today, and I'll pick them because I won't pick against my team. It's just not in my DNA. If they win today, they're kind of back. They're back in the hunt. They're going to be a game and a half behind Buffalo, and they can still win. I said all along, they probably got to beat Buffalo twice to be in position to win the division or even make the playoffs. But win or lose. If they lose badly, here's the first thing. They go in there, they lose. I don't even know if it matters if they lose badly. But I will say if they lose, Cam should sit. Not because Cam necessarily is a reason for all of this. A lot of reasons, as I just mentioned. And I do have to circle back to the defensive part of this thing. But we got to find out if there's a quarterback to be had here. Can Stidham play? He's only been put in positions where he can't succeed. In games where it's a blowout and teams know they can tee off on him. So he's had to rush balls and thrown some interceptions, and he hasn't had a lot of time in practice to prepare. So it's time to find out. If they fall to 2-5, it's time to find out whether Stidham can play. Let him have all the reps in practice. Let him play. Let him fall on his face. Doesn't matter at that point. 2-5, you're not going anywhere. You're not making a playoffs. I don't care how many teams they expanded it by. They're not making the playoffs. Now, if they win, you probably keep playing Cam because you're in contention. But win or lose, I think there's going to be some movement. I think Gilmore's probably going if he can get himself a first-round draft pick, even a high second-round draft pick. I think Gilmore's gone. I had a conversation with Mac and Jack, and Mac thought, they should consider trading him to the Giants for Evan Ingram. No, not unless he's coming with a first-round draft pick. Love to see Ingram. He's very enigmatic. Oh, boy, here I go again. Sorry. He's a riddle when it comes to being a player because he's got so much talent. Flashed it early in his career, fell backwards. I think Belichick would love to get his hands on him, but I said Patriots 9-2. Did I say that? I don't know what I said. Week 1, you said Patriots 9-2. Oh, I think I might have said they could go 9-7 and 10-6 and win the division. But Billy also says Belichick's going to Tampa. I don't think so. But Tom may want to reunite with a lot of people. I don't think Belichick's one of them. Maybe Edelman ends up there. Who knows? Anyway, I think you'll see the Patriots looking to make some moves. If they're it doesn't matter whether they win or lose. If they win and they're 3-4 and they think they're still alive, he will still look to make some moves if he can get some draft picks. He loves to accumulate draft picks. And I will look back at the tape, Bill. I'll look. What 9-2 though? I said they'd be 9-2 after 11 weeks. 9-7. See, or 10-6. We still got a long ways to go to get to either one of those numbers, so I guess the point's moot anyway, at least at the moment. So anyway, back to what I was saying. Assuming they get in, they win today. Even if they feel like they still got a shot to turn the season around a little bit, I see Belichick moving some guys. I can see Gilmore going, free up some cap space for next year. More cap space for next year. Maybe doubtful Edelman because he's hurt. But Tui, lineman, possible. Maybe Jason McCourty. I don't doubt they'll move Devin McCourty, but maybe Jason McCourty. Right? If they lose, everybody's probably available. I don't think they can move Cam because I don't think anybody's going to want him necessarily, and he's not signed past this year anyway. So I think that even if they think they're in contention, I think they'll look to make some moves and try to stay in contention and get themselves in a better position to be competitive next year. It might be a 2-year thing. I don't think he wants to rebuild a team necessarily from scratch. I don't know if Bill's got a taste for that over 70 years old. But, he needs to retool and do it quickly. And it starts with the quarterback, guys. It starts with the offense. As I said before, and I'll circle back to it now, as I said I would, you might win with a good defense, but you can't have a good defense without a good offense. Today. Not today. Last week is a perfect example. The Patriots have a decent defense. Give up 33 points to the 49ers, but they're on the field 75% of the time. Not going to work. So that's why I say good offense leads to good defense. Even a mediocre defense will be better if they're not on the field 75% of the time. The Chiefs don't have a great defense, but they're playing from ahead a lot of times. They're not on the field. They're on the field 40% of the time and not 75% of the time. Big difference. Huge difference. And that's why I say it starts with offense. You need defense to win. Don't get me wrong. You cannot win a Super Bowl without playing defense. But a good offense helps make a good defense. That's my point. So I think you'll see Bill make some moves one way or the other after today. And then the trade deadline, I think, is the 3rd. So he's got a couple of days to make some moves. Anyway, we're falling a little behind here. Anyway, let's move to the Jets. Not much to say. Jets 0-7. I don't see how they win a game this year. They're going to be in the front. They're going to be in the driver's seat for Trevor Lawrence. Somebody had mentioned don't count out Atlanta in that race, but they kind of won 2 games and screwed themselves up. But Trevor Lawrence will be in the and maybe you won't want to go there. Trevor Lawrence has the option to go back to school, so he's got some leverage. We'll see what happens, whether he uses that leverage. But maybe he wants to be in New York. If they hire the right coach, maybe that's what'll matter to Trevor Lawrence. And if he comes there, then Sam Darnold's available. And you know what? I loved Sam Darnold when they drafted him. And I thought, I think, Billy, you told me you thought he'd pass on a draft, and I told you were crazy last week or a couple weeks ago. I still think he'll come out, but I think he'll use the leverage, and maybe he'll come back. We'll see. Just remember, every time you come back when you don't need to, you may not be the number 1 pick the year after if you get hurt. It's happened to a lot of guys. Insurance policies are great, but you can't take them out for, $200 million. The Jets are 2 games behind New England. Yes, they are. And if the Patriots lose out, that means they lose 2 games to the Jets. And guess who may be in the driver's seat for Trevor Lawrence then? I may not be upset with that outcome, Bill. Rick says stay in college. The Jets are a train wreck. I agree. But, again, they're a train wreck today. The coach is gone. For sure, he's a walking dead man, and they've got to obviously get a coach in place before the draft, and before Trevor Lawrence needs to declare for the draft. Because if they hire the right guy, then that's going to matter to Trevor Lawrence. And again, Bill keeps pointing out the Jets are only, he didn't put only in there, but they're only 2 games behind the Patriots. So if the Patriots, decide to tank, which I'm sure they'd be called out for, and they'll want to suspend Parcells. Good grief. I did that when I was with Ian O'Connor. I called Parcells the coach. Billy knows doing get Lawrence. Well, I hope so. That's going to be the goal. Let's acquire a bunch of draft picks and find a way to trade up if we have to, or lose out. I don't even care, to be honest with you. This team's not going anywhere. Win today, be in competition for a playoff spot, so what? You get to the playoffs, you're going to be one and done. Lose out, which means you lose twice to the Jets. You put yourself in position for the first draft pick. I don't want to see that. I don't like watching my team lose. I'm not in favor of tanking. I'm kind of tongue-in-cheek here, guys, but bet you Trevor Lawrence wants to play for Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniel. Sorry, my phone's going crazy. I want to make sure it's not a call. Let's move on. Jeez, we spent all kinds of time in AFC East. I knew I would do that because I want to talk a lot about the Patriots. The AFC North is really good. I think as we probably thought, maybe we thought it'd be more top heavy and not have the Browns in it. But you got the Steelers at 6-0, and they're playing the Ravens today. Huge game. And playing great football. Ravens obviously 5-1. The Browns a little bit of a surprise and a nice win last week. And Baker Mayfield making me look bad because I am not a believer. I'm just not a believer in Baker Mayfield. But he led them back to victory last week against the Bengals. But the Bengals aren't playing bad ball, by the way. They just aren't. They're not. They don't have victories. And again, as the fat bastard said, you are what your record says you are. And they've got 1 win and 5 losses. But the division's top heavy. Steelers and Ravens in great position comes playoff time. The Titans lose one to the Steelers last week. I'm still not a big believer in the Titans. I wasn't last year. I'm not a big Ryan Tannehill fan. But we'll see. They're 5-1. Colts 4-2. Better than I thought they'd be. Rivers playing a little better than I thought he could. Interesting game against the Lions today. The Lions are playing really good football. And they're a home dog. Matt Patricia has them playing well. His back's to the wall if he wants to keep his job. Interesting game today. But the Colts are a little bit better than I thought they'd be. Their defense is really good, by the way. Texans are terrible. Obviously going nowhere. Jacksonville's terrible. On to the West. The Chiefs, 6-1. We all know about the Chiefs. The Chiefs are who we thought they were, to use Dennis Green's famous line. The Raiders are up and down. The Raiders have this week. We'll see in a little bit. I don't know why I feel like they're playing the Jets, but that can't be possible, can it? Anyway, Chargers 2-4. I think better than their record. Interesting team. Justin Herbert's played very well as a rookie. Under some trying circumstances, obviously. So, and the Broncos, one team I thought would be a surprise, has just been a dumpster fire, except for beating the Patriots, of course. So, moving on to the NFC East, the Eagles have a commanding half-game lead over the team formerly known as the Redskins in the NFC East. Raiders and Browns. Thank you, Bill. I knew they were coming east. Oh, yeah, Chiefs and Jets. Set your own line, Bill. It's 21. I'm not sure. We'll get to that in a little bit. And again, Rick and Bill, if you want to both compete in the picks again, I'd be more than happy to have you both compete. If one of you wants to call in or even come on the show, if you want to send me an email, I will put you in the room with me while we do our picks. I can put you both in the room with me if you want to. Up to you guys, or we can do it the way we've done it the last few weeks. I'm fine with that. Anyway, back to the NFC East. What a dumpster fire. Good grief. The Eagles with a commanding half-game lead over the Redskins. I'm sorry, the team formerly known as the Redskins. I can't be so politically incorrect. I'll be getting kicked off the airwaves. I don't even know what to say about this. 6 wins going to win this division. It's a good thing they got to play each other. There wouldn't be any wins in this division, for crying out loud. But everybody's alive. The Cowboys are terrible, and they're still only a half game out of first. We all know how bad the Giants have played. They're a game and a half out. Somebody gets hot, wins 2 in a row, gonna run away. Let's move on, please. NFC North. The Packers are playing well. They got back on the right track last week against the Texans after a tough loss to Tampa Bay, where they were just all discombobulated. They're the class of the division. The Bears, while a surprise at 5-2, their point differentials under, they've given up more points than they've scored. A really bad showing on Monday night against the Rams. The Lions playing better football. Matt Patricia's job on the line, as I said, they won 2 in a row. Not sure what to say. Big game for them today. They're home dogs, as I said, against the Colts, which we'll get to in a little bit. The Vikings, Rick, I'm sorry, this team is probably got to get blown up, right? They're without Dalvin Cook today. I'm not sure I see any way that they're going to be able to beat the Packers today. Moving to the South. Bill, you're on a roll today, man. How much coffee do you drink before you come on with us in the morning? Jets won. Oh, gosh, we're so politically incorrect on this show. Let's move to the NFC South. Tampa Bay. I got to touch on something as we talk about this. Tampa Bay at 5-2, really playing good football right now. Their point differential is 80. They've had a couple, so-so games, games they could have won and lost. But Tom Brady was a player of the month in October. One beer. At 10 a.m., my hero. They're in the driver's seat. The Saints are 4-2, but kind of struggling along. Drew Brees has not been Drew Brees. Maybe they get it together. The Panthers, horrible loss against the Falcons the other night. I still like the Panthers in the long run. Great coach. I don't know if they'll be able to keep their offensive coordinator that long because I think he might be a hot commodity come head coach hiring time. But we'll see. The Falcons are out of it. Let me just touch on something with the Buccaneers and Tom Brady. And I've seen a lot of this on social media this week. Let me go back here before I move on too far. Rick's talking about a lot of young players don't need to get blown up, just need to get healthy and grow up. Well, there's something to be said for that. Again, I know we may have a difference of opinion here, but I think they need a quarterback still. Gave Kirk Cousins a lot of money and not a lot to show for it. Not all his fault. Injuries are a problem, but injuries are a problem for everybody in the NFL. And I just think they need to get better at quarterback. I think the coach is going to have trouble surviving the season if they don't right the ship somehow. But that's just me. Brady's doing well, yes. But here's come on, remember to tailgate. Well, that was different, Bill. We'd be drinking at 5:30 in the morning on the way to Foxborough. So 4 wins for the Vikings, 0 for the Jets. It looks like Rick's prediction for the year. All right, let me get back to the Buccaneers and Tom Brady and some of the social media stuff I've seen this week, and even some stuff in the media, the mainstream media, saying it. Well, it's now obvious that Tom Brady was the reason for the Patriots' success and not Bill Belichick. There can't be a more ridiculous statement that can be made. Well, I guess there could be. Don't challenge universe. Than making that. I'm sorry. You know, they both were good together. Separately, if they hadn't spent the last 20 years together, I'm sure they each would have won a Super Bowl or maybe two. But they don't have the 20-year run that they had without each other. And to judge, you know, Brady against Belichick on 7 games of this season, where Brady is surrounded by better weapons than he had with the Patriots the last 5 years. You can't do it. You just can't do it. Belichick doesn't have a quarterback. His fault. He left himself without one. I really do think they thought that Stidham was going to be the guy last year, and he didn't step up in training camp. He was hurt, didn't play well. So he leaves himself without a quarterback. And again, bad drafting in the last couple of years for sure. But let's talk in, you know, Belichick's not done. Brady's not done. Let's talk in a couple of years. And I don't even think that it matters, to be honest with you, what happens the next 2, 3, 4, I don't know how many years either one of them's going to go. Belichick will probably go longer, but who knows? 70 years old. Let's just stop the, you know, Brady was the key to the team. Well, yeah, Brady was a huge part of that team, and it can never be taken away. I love Tom Brady. But, you know, let's not just say that the whole reason for their, you know, for their success was Tom Brady. There's a lot of, and that dismisses everybody that played with him in all those seasons and all those Super Bowl wins. A lot of guys were integral to it, including the coaching staff, and not just Bill Belichick. Anyway, that's my rant there. Okay. NFC West. Guys, best division in football. Best division in football. Maybe they all make the playoffs. I don't know. Back up a little bit. We did let Garoppolo go because Tom Brady wanted him gone. Belichick wanted to move on from Brady then and got overruled by Bob Kraft because Tommy was his boy. It's fine. We won the Super Bowl after that. Won one, lost one. I'm okay with that. We got to rebuild. I knew forever. I thought it would come sooner than this. Said all along we'd be just like everybody else eventually. Just remember that Bill Belichick won 11 games with Matt Castle. Didn't make the playoffs, but he won 11 games with Matt Castle. Where's Matt Castle? Where else did Matt Castle play well? Nowhere. Okay. Anyway, enough about that. I wish Garoppolo was here. Brady signed with San Francisco. Garoppolo might have found his way back, which Belichick would have liked it. He wanted him to stay. Old news. Let's get on the NFC West. Best division in football. These teams might all make the playoffs. Seattle leads the pack at 5-1, but you got the Cardinals and the Rams at 5-2, and the resurging 49ers, who were being written off a couple of weeks ago because, you know, they had injuries up the Yazoo. Not Castle. No T. Castle. Matt Castle. Matt Hunt. Anyway, 49ers are resurgent. Garoppolo played great last 2 weeks, played great. Killed the Patriots, killed I can't remember who they played the week before that. Oh, the Rams. Beat the Rams, a very good Rams team. All those teams might make the playoffs with the expanded playoffs. So, again, there's where we're at. I mean, buyers and sellers, more teams are going to hold on to guys than normal because of the expanded playoffs. The Jets probably will make some moves. The Giants will probably make some moves. I'm not ready to count some teams out. I'm not ready to count out. Let's see, for instance, who's struggling? Patriots, I'll just say they got a chance if they win today. If they don't, forget it. Teams struggling. There's really nobody. Raiders maybe can get on a run. Chargers could surprise some people and get on a run. The NFC East is again a dumpster fire. The Eagles is the only team I can see getting on a real run if they get healthy and making a run. I can see the Lions getting back into this maybe. And that's probably it. Other than that, if you're not winning now, you may not be winning. So, looks like you guys are ready to move on to the picks for this week. Nobody wants to come in the room with me. Nobody wants to call. Fine. We're going to do this old-fashioned way. I'm ready. Are you guys ready? Vikings kneel. Whoa. All right, guys. We're moving on to the picks. We're going to go long today. No, we're not. 10:30. I don't mind a couple hours on a Sunday morning, especially when the weather's crappy. We're going to start with probably the game of the week. Pittsburgh at Baltimore. Actually, hold on. I need something here. All right. Pittsburgh at Baltimore. Baltimore 6-0. Pittsburgh, sorry, 6-0. Baltimore 5-1. This game's at the Ravens at 1:00. Hopefully, it's not on TV. We got the Patriots and Bills. The Ravens are a 3.5-point favorite. Oh, let me back up. Thursday night, guys. I gotta tell you, I was on the Jaguars, so again, my Atlanta jinx continues. It doesn't matter whether I pick them or don't. So I had a loser, Jags. You guys both picking today? Tell me who you had Thursday night, or would have had. I'm a loser again. So send me through your Jaguar and Falcon picks from Thursday night so we can count them in the results. By the way, after pulverizing me, there's my pun, Bill, 2 weeks before, TGI Sports Talk came back with a 7-6-1 record, which we all had last week. Rick Sherlock, Bill Pulver, TGI Sports Talk, 7-6-1. Nothing to write home about, but much better than it was the previous couple of weeks, especially the 2 weeks ago when I had 3 wins. Billy was on the Falcons. You're a trustworthy man, so I will take you at your word. Rick, are you picking with us this week? I'm going to move on. You can certainly catch up as we go along here, Rick. If you are, give me your Thursday night pick as we move on to Pittsburgh and Baltimore. This is a tough one, guys. Both teams playing really well. Pittsburgh's got the NFL's best run defense. This is a hard one for me to pick. I don't like picking Pittsburgh. I'm not even a big Ravens fan, even though John Harbaugh's a great coach. I just have a problem with him and some of his issues with the Patriots over the years. Ingram's out for the Ravens, which affects them a lot. I'm going to take the Steelers and the points in this game. Plus 3.5. Billy's pick. That's correct. Is that your pick? Putting you down for the Steelers, Bill. Minus 3.5. I think we lost Rick, so we're going to have to bypass him this week. I'll wait for your pick as I move on. That's going to be a great game, guys. One of the key games in the NFL this week. Steelers and Ravens. Another good game, and who thought this would be a good game? The Rams at the Dolphins. 1:00. Rams are 4 at Miami. Sorry, Billy's on the Ravens. Let me write that down. Got to change your pick. Ravens -3.5 for Billy. No pulverizing me this week. Rams at the Dolphins. Rams are -4, Bill. Listen up. It's Tua time. Fitzpatrick's disappointed, but again, the Dolphins say this was their plan all along. Rams are playing some good football. Played well against. They played really well against the Bears last week, and I like their defense. I think it's going to cause some problems for Tua, and I just hope it's not too early for him and something doesn't happen for him. I'd kind of like to see him get healthy, but I'm taking the Rams, even though I don't like these teams coming west or east from the West Coast for these 1 o'clock games. I'm going to take the Rams -4. Billy's also on the Rams. Moving on. 49ers at the Seahawks. Another great game. 4:25 today on Fox. Hope we get that game. Haven't checked the schedule other than the Patriots. Seahawks -3 at home. You know, this is a huge game for the 49ers. If they can continue their momentum from the last couple of weeks, they could give the Seahawks a run, but they're tough at home. Even with nobody in the crowd, you know, they're just tough. The question is going to be if Garoppolo can exploit, which is what is a weak Seattle pass defense, and Jamal Adams is out. Well, I shouldn't say that. He's a game time decision for Seattle, but I'm going to have to take the home team here. I rarely can go against Seattle at home, so I'll take the Seahawks -3. Billy will go the same way. -3. All right, good game. Titans at the Bengals. Titans are 6-point favorites on the road. A lot of road favorites this year. A lot of big road favorites, you know, almost a touchdown or more. And there's a couple more this week. The odds makers also expect this to be the highest scoring game. I think it's at 55 was the over-under. The Titans have a great offense. Derrick Henry's tough to stop. Tannehill's played well. But Joe Burrow's played pretty well, even taking into consideration his the team's record of 1-5-1. I just don't think that they can compete in this game with the Titans. Even laying the 6 points on the road, I will do that. It's going to be the Titans for me. It's going to be the Titans for Bill. -6, Bill. Write it down. My game of the week. Patriots and the Bills. Bills are only a 3.5-point favorite. I think that line's moved a little bit since I got this, but we're going with this line. I should probably take an updated line, but I will not. I'm taking the Patriots because I have to. It's going to take a miracle, and you're going to find out how good a coach Bill Belichick is if he wins this game today. They're banged up. They got no wide receivers. They've had no tight ends. The offensive line's a mess. Stephen Gilmore has probably played his last game as a Patriot. He didn't even make the trip. He's hurt and is very likely to be traded in the next couple days. And then we got to see what Cam does. And hopefully, I had made a note here. It was very interesting to see Jeff Garcia criticizing Cam's post-game wear and thinking he should tone it down after they lose a game. So, Pats +3.5. What's Billy saying here? Well, we haven't got to the Jets yet, Rick, but that's a bold pick. Rick took the Jets on his sheet. We'll get there. Billy's got the Bills. No surprise. All right. Chargers and the Broncos. Rick, if you want to pick, I saw you come back. If you do want to pick, scroll back through the comments. I guess you can go by Billy's comments, what teams we've already covered, and I will add you to the pick list. I'll go back through the comments and catch you up if you want to put them in after. If you want to continue or continue along since where we are. Pick up where we are and then go back. It's up to you. Enjoy having you pick with us. And whenever we get to go out, you'll be part of that little party that'll probably cost me a bundle because I can't seem to win and stop getting pulverized by Pulver. I can't stop with that pun. It's awful. Next game, Chargers at the Broncos. Chargers are -3, another road favorite. A little bit of an odd line for me. The Chargers are getting Keenan Allen back. Justin Herbert played very well. I just like the Chargers here. I don't usually take this many road favorites, but you just got to like the Chargers. They're just playing good ball. Broncos 0 points. Okay, Rick, no worries. Billy, Broncos 0 points. Does that mean you're picking the Chargers? As I get ready for Rick's game, which he may not want to talk about, I'll look for your pick, Bill. I know we're on a little delay. Moving on to the Vikings at the Packers. 1 o'clock today. Packers are 6.5. Only 6.5, I'm going to say. I'm a little surprised that the Packers, playing as well as they've played in 5 of their 6 games, are only a 6.5 point favorite over the Vikings with Dalvin Cook out for Minnesota. But I think the Packers just have too many weapons, too much momentum. I'm going to have to take the Packers minus the 6.5. I will likely bet that game today, by the way. Broncos. Oh, what's the line? What are you on to your third beer now? Don't pick the Packers. You haven't picked the Broncos yet. I'll put your Packer pick down. You got to pick the Chargers. The Charger Bronco game is Chargers -3. I've got you down for the Packers. Sorry, Rick. They'll get better. Bill, you put your Bronco Charger pick in while I move on to the Colts at the Lions. Colts are -3, another road favorite. Colts keep surprising me. Rivers has been not played well from behind until last week. They fell behind by 21 points. They came back and won. Got your pick of the Broncos, Bill. Thank you. He threw for 3 touchdowns and almost 400 yards passing. I think they had the biggest comeback in franchise history. But the Lions are playing better. It's an interesting challenge. They've won 3 of their last 4. Mostly playing against some soft teams. But that's the way teams build momentum. They did win in Arizona, and they're at home. And I like the Lions here. I just like the Lions here. -3. Billy's got the Lions -3. Next game, Jets at Kansas City. The line is the Chiefs 48.5. No, just kidding, Bill. 19.5. That's the line we're using. It'll probably be higher today, but that's the line we're using. There is no way. I know Rick took the Jets on his football sheet this week, and I just can't see any way the Jets stay in this game. And while it's not in my nature to lay 19.5 points in an NFL game, I got to take the Kansas City Chiefs in this game, -19.5. Billy says the Jets can call it a century. Give me your pick. Give me your pick. Jets got no chance here. I mean, do they have a chance to cover? I mean, yeah. I mean, 20 points. Any NFL team ought to be able to cover 20 points. But, is there any reason to expect that they will? Is Darnold back? I just don't see any way that they avoid getting slaughtered here. Bill, give me. Oh, you're gonna take the Chiefs. Not a Jets fan. You can't pick against your team. I'm going to tell you, when the Patriots are going 0-16 one year very soon, I'll be picking them every week, just so you know. I'm bad, right? Okay, let's move on. Raiders and Browns. Raiders at the Browns. The Browns are 2.5. If you like to see quarterbacks throw the ball, this is your game. They throw the ball all over the field, both these teams. Raiders are 3-3. Browns are 5-2. Cleveland does play a little bit better run defense. And they're at home. And again, teams coming east, I have trouble taking. Even Billy changes his pick to the Jets. I embarrassed him into taking him. Probably hold that against me when I beat you by 1. So what about the Raiders and Browns, Bill? I am taking the Browns -2.5 over the Raiders. Probably a team that will kick my butt because they always. That's another team I can't pick. Atlanta and the Browns. All right, let's move on. New Orleans at the Bears. This is an interesting game. Two teams that their records are good, but we're not sure how they actually got there. Yeah, I know there's no OBJ, but that's not a great loss. He's not that good. You know, they won without him last week. Played the Bengals. I know. But you know, there's more show than there is substance there. And the Patriots are always linked with OBJ, by the way, and I don't like it. I don't like his act. He's got great talent, but I just don't like his act. I just don't like the way he carries himself on the field. Back to the Saints and Bears. Billy's on the Saints. You know, this is a tough one, too. I mean, Foles has not played great at quarterback. Some interesting comments at the end of the game Monday night by Brian Griese, or comments supposedly shared by Nick Foles, that he'd expressed some serious concerns about Coach Nagy's understanding of the team's capabilities and the way they communicate plays that come in, and you know, and he knows in that game situation he doesn't have time, and you know they try to play it off as as you know he misspoke, but he was just went into too much detail to me to have misspoken. So in this game, the Saints -4 at the Bears. I think it's time for the Saints to play well on the road. I think it's time for Drew Brees to get it together. And I'm going to take the Saints myself. -4. Bears hibernate, Billy says. Here's a game everybody's dying to see tonight at 8:20. I think I put myself to bed about 8:10, just so I don't have any chance of seeing any of this game. The Eagles are 7.5-point favorite. Cowboys at the Eagles. 7.5-point favorite. How do you pick anybody here? How do you take the Cowboys ever? Andy Dalton's out. I said last week, you know, they wouldn't miss Dak that much because Andy Dalton's a great regular season quarterback, and they won't win any or playoffs games because he fits right in. Because he's never won a playoff game. But they're not making a playoffs. Dalton's not played well, and he got his bell rung in a nasty, nasty, dirty play. I can't believe there's no retaliation, by the way. Another problem I have with the Cowboys, they don't even step up. Their quarterback almost gets their head taken off last week, and they don't even step up and defend him. I mean, the coaching staff, somebody's got to tell somebody to go out there. Not hurt somebody. But somebody's got to stand up for the quarterback. Almost got his head taken off. No passion on that team. There's something wrong. There's something seriously, systematically wrong with the Dallas Cowboy organization. Nasty. One of the worst hits I've seen in a long time. And anyway, I'm on the Eagles here. Billy's on the Eagles. Enough said about this game. -7.5. Eagles. Man up a little, Cowboys. Stand up for your quarterback. God. Man, it upsets me. Can't tell. Monday night, Tampa Bay, double-digit favorite, 10.5 points on the road at the Giants. You know, whatever. The Giants have shown a lot of fight in games. They aren't getting blown out. Joe Judge, I think, is a great choice for them. He's kept them on an even keel, even though they're 1-6. Daniel Jones, is he the answer? I don't know. Very interesting. There's a lot of funny memes about Daniel Jones and his 80-yard run last week. And I did read reports that he was actually running faster than Lamar Jackson runs during that run, but he fell down. He ran 21.2 miles an hour. I can't go that fast in my car. I agree. Just to back up for a second, Rick is saying coaches shouldn't need to tell the players to take care of that and can't. Well, I know they can't. And they shouldn't need to. You're right. The players should step up, man up, and protect their own. Same way in baseball. These things need to be taken care of, you know. Well, it's a little different in the Saints, Bill. I'm talking about one play and protecting your quarterback. I'm not talking about a bounty system that is ongoing. But I get it. I get your point. You know, the coaches can get themselves in hot water, but, you know, again, they can talk about protecting our own. You got to see, you know, go back and look at MLB and Google Terry Collins exploding. I mean, you can probably just put in Terry Collins exploding, you know, after, you know, his pitchers weren't allowed to take matters into their own hands and police themselves. This happened in sports for years, right? Players were able to police themselves on the field, and it's not allowed to happen anymore. Another thing has been legislated out of the game. Football's a violent game. I get it. Can't take the violence out of it. I don't want to see guys get hurt. I don't want to see guys have season or career-ending injuries and things that'll affect them later in life. I want to see them make themselves human missiles. You can deliver messages without hurting somebody badly. Okay, there's ways to do it. Let me get back to Daniel Jones and his 21-mile-per-hour run. The fact that he fell down before he can get to the end zone was very funny. But it's kind of indicative of the Giants season and where they've been the last few years. A funny meme I saw, and again, some people probably take offense to it, but I saw a meme that somebody put together of Daniel Jones running down the middle of the field, and somebody had superimposed a sniper from one of these video games taking aim at him and shooting him down at the 10. You know, again, I know I'm not politically correct in that comment, but it's fun. It just was a funny visual. Anyway, back to this game, 10.5-point favorites. You know, I think the Bucs are on a roll. I think the Bucs are enjoying manhandling some teams now and getting rid of some of that early season criticism and some of that rust, or not rust so much, but being unfamiliar with each other. We have 7 different picks, Bill? Really? I haven't made my pick here yet. Did you make your pick? I've been talking about this. You're in the Giants. I'm on Tampa Bay because I'm not rooting against Tom Brady. I know, you know, my comments aside, I love Tom Brady, and Tom Brady's a great player. My comments about him and Belichick aside, I'm on Tampa Bay. So maybe we got 8 different picks. I don't know. I can make up the 3-11. Maybe. We'll see how it goes. going to be an interesting week of football. I think there's some really good. Games on the schedule. It's an important week for a lot of teams. The Steelers and the Ravens. It's a huge week for the Patriots. Big games. Where else? Big games for the Browns. Big games for the Jets. Just kidding. Big game for the Browns. Big game for the Saints and Bears. Believe it or not, a big game for the Eagles. Somebody's got to win that division. Billy thinks so. Put the hay. So we got 8 different picks. Interesting. Could be a big swing this week, Bill. Anyway, I've enjoyed it, guys. I think it's going to be a great week in the NFL. Doesn't look like much else going on today. It's windy here in East Greenbush. I hope it's better where you are. You guys that have been picking with me, Drew, I know you're not here today, but Bill, Rick, I hope when everybody's comfortable and able to be in one place, I'd love to get together and pay off my wager and celebrate our picks with a beer. BJ's was the place I think we chose, so we'll talk more about that as we go forward. Yeah. You're a Jet fan, not used to losing. Interesting. 50 years without a Super Bowl. I told Mac and Jack, I told you guys the show that I guest on Fridays as their Patriot Insider, which I enjoy the moniker. And I enjoy their conversation with them. I have a good time with them. But Jack is a big Jet fan, and we hope he lives 50 more years to survive and see another Jet Super Bowl win. And Jack's not a young man, I don't think. So hopefully he makes it. So anyway, guys, I want to thank you for tuning in today. I want to remind you that I'll be on live Friday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time with Fred Mitchell, former Chicago Tribune sports writer. Wrote about the Bears, the Bulls, and the what's the other team there? The Cubs. The only sports writer ever to do it, and he's got the book about Gale Sayers and some other sports books he's written as well, 11 of them in all. It's going to be a great interview with Fred Mitchell. I hope you'll join in then. Again, we apologize. Billy Martin Jr. apologized for Friday's no show, but we're going to make sure that doesn't happen when we reschedule it, and I hope you enjoyed my review of Billy Martin's legendary career. We'll see you Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern time. You guys have a great day.